Good. Perfect. Okay, I'm going to keep this slide here for just a quick minute. We are just have the pleasure of talking to new agency owner, Wilbur Smith. So, Wilbur, first of all, thank you so much for being on the call. And I love this slide with you and your wife, Piper. I think this is probably when you signed your contract for ownership. Is that right?
Yeah, it's when we got to finally get out to a little dinner like a week or so after. But yeah, that's what this was for.
That's so awesome. How did that feel just in that moment, you and Piper signing that contract? How did that feel?
Good. Honestly, if you've read, well, first off, hi, I'm Wilbur. Good to be here. I grew up with a lot of you inside of Symmetry, so this is fun. Um, And Jen, those of you who get to be on here with Jennifer, she's an absolute legend and saint. I'll get to. Don't let me forget. I've got a story about you that I don't want to pass over. But yeah, it felt good. But if any of you have read the book "The Mountain Is You" by an author named Brianna West, or maybe it's Brianna West. Yeah, it was recommended years ago. Jen, you probably remember this from Ashley herself as Book of the Month back in the day,
Yep.
and she talks about when you have this like when you have a us as humans get like we get like a dopamine rush when we're working towards something, right? And then you get it and you kind of like decompress, kind of like a deflating balloon. I personally have a history of when the balloon deflates, how to like reinflate it, right? And
Mhm.
so leading up to this is and Jen and Kyle and Kristen, like y'all remember going on that when you're on that run, you're just like, oh crap, and you're like just trying to get there. So making sure that when I did sign that, right,
Mhm.
that I didn't let the balloon totally deflate because that could be a
Mm.
serious issue. So to answer your question, it felt
Yep.
really good. It was nice, we as humans need wins, that's for
Mm.
sure. So it was definitely a fun moment, and this was a cool pic because it's at our favorite restaurant that our buddy owns, and so it was a good time. And yeah, that picture on the right is my sister-in-law's wedding that I officiated in the middle of a freaking agency owner run in Costa Rica. So what in the world? But yeah, that's
That's amazing. I forgot about that, that I remember that. I remember texting you and I'm like, well, I didn't really hear back from him. And,
yeah.
congratulations on your hitting out AO. And then I found out that you guys were there. But you guys, look at this crew of boys like Wilbur Jr., I guess, your lovely wife, Piper, Wilbur Jr., Huck, Rhett, and Bodie. Like, what a crew. And I mean, I follow you on Instagram, and one of the things I love is just watching these kiddos, like, and they're just the things that they do. They just look like they are a hoot. And I'm sure your pride and joy. So,
Yeah.
anyway, I just love that. But all right, I'm gonna stop the screen share and we're gonna just be able to see everybody a little bit more. But, I want to take just a quick minute because Wilbur, I reached out to a couple of people just to kind of share a little bit of their thoughts about you. And so I just want to read some of the things that, just information that I gathered about you, thoughts about you from others. And it's all good. So, first one is from Rod. Rod is, I just learned from you 20 years old. He issued 16,000, I think, last month. I don't know if it was June or May, but 20 years old, just out there already building and just crushing everything in this business. But Rod said, whenever I need something, Wilbur is always there, ready to listen, never to criticize. He's a leader who truly leads from the front, setting the example for the rest of us to follow. He has an incredible gift for making things simple and easy to understand, which helps us adapt and grow quickly. Above all, he's willing to coach and pour into those who are willing to put in the work. I'm grateful for his leadership and the impact he continues to make in my journey. So that was from Rob. So he I thought that was really good. He kept himself really kind of controlled in everything that he said. So that was a really nice message from Rod. Bob Gransard is your upline, correct? You're direct to Bob.
Yep.
Okay. Wilbur is a father of four boys and is very active from coaching baseball to fishing to helping them lift weights like their dad. He is a person known for his one-liners and has some of the best live dial sessions in the team. We may need to get you on one of our live dial sessions. If we're missing out on something, I want to know about it. Before Symmetry, Wilbur had quite the journey that involved a lot of challenges, and through perseverance, eventually led him to Symmetry in the insurance space in 2022. Bob said, "Was your journey easy? No. You had to work through the process and find the path that allowed you to eventually become an agency owner in 2025." So, great message from Bob as well. And, Wilbur, you have just been someone that I have absolutely enjoyed watching your growth and development in this business. Um, I wondered at the beginning, like, what is Wilbur going to do here? And you were kind of like, not that you're quiet, you're not a quiet person by any means, but you kind of had this a little bit of like a quiet presence when you got here. And then it just like grew and grew and grew, and you started building and bringing people on and just watching your team develop and watching you develop. I truly have just enjoyed it. And um, I've learned a lot from you about perseverance. So I'm just super grateful to know you. And I'm just excited for our team to hear from you today. And yeah, just hear kind of what your journey's been like. So, anyway, thanks for being here.
Oh, what the heck, Jen? You can't have me on here and send me compliments and things from other people that aren't here, going behind closed doors and people saying nice things. So I appreciate that. That's like I said, we all need wins and everyone needs kind of accolades there and pats on the back. I don't care who you are. You can say you like to deflect compliments, but it is nice to hear. And I don't know, this is annoying me. I have like a bunch of dots on my nose. Those of you who go in the sun, wear sunscreen. I had a bunch of crap laser off my freaking face last week, so you probably didn't notice until I told you.
Didn't
But
notice, didn't notice.
all I'm doing is looking at it. That's all we got here. But yeah, it has been a fun ride, and you're not wrong. So I have a natural tendency when I get into a new setting. I'm never really like nervous or scared, but I go into observation mode right away.
Okay.
I've known my wife. We went to preschool together. It's not one of those stories, so let's not get all like, oh, but like we've known each other that long, and so but I never met her parents until we started like dating, right? We were in our 20s. And
Okay.
when I first met them, after we had the first time we had dinner or whatever, they went to Piper and they were like, "Are you sure that's the guy? Because he kind of got like serial killer vibes." Like I had a lot, like I
Oh,
always had short, like buzz cut. Like I've always looked fit, and he looks like he doesn't talk. He just kind of has like a mean kind of resting, you know what face. So you're spot on there, Jen. I did come in and kind of needed to see what was going on, and I found so before Symmetry. I've got sober at age 21. What that led me into working in the field of addiction treatment. I started doing that when pretty much in that same year. Just I was working at a sandwich shop at age 21. It was like the best job of all time. If you've ever been to, well, you were just there. Kyle and Kristen were just there. Oh, I don't know if you were, Kyle. I know Kristen was. In Newport Beach. I worked in Huntington, and there was a place in Costa Mesa, which is inland of Newport. Place called Jan's Health Bar, smoothies and sandwiches. Place is awesome. As a single 21-year-old, it was the best place I could have ever worked. And I heard, oh, this treatment center is offering a couple more bucks an hour. So I started working there. And one thing led to another. And because I was in recovery myself, I instantly was able to connect with people, right? And I found myself liking the purpose of serving. And so I stuck with one company, kind of climbed the ladder, got into a pretty nice management role, started making decent money. And when my wife and I got engaged, we were like, we love it out here, but the cost of living, all of that is just too much. If any of you are in California, like right on. Godspeed. But we wanted to move back home. Both our families are from here. And so I opened up my own treatment center. I had recovery homes where we housed people who were trying to get their feet on there, men specifically. My kind of my specialty was like younger guys, 18 to 30, because that's what I was.
yeah.
And then we had an outpatient facility. It was awesome. We helped a lot of people, did a lot of good, met a ton of other people. I was flying all around the US, finding clients and stuff. And then when COVID hit, I wasn't positioned correctly from a business standpoint to basically sustain. I didn't have any procedures to take something on like that. And during those summer months, after March of when it all came, I
Mm-hmm.
looked up and I'm like, oh, we are wildly in the red. This is a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried to rebirth myself and identity to like get back on the horse, but it didn't work out. So I spent like 18 months kind of half in, half out, and just kept dragging every person through the mud with me. My family, clients, staff. It was not pretty.
Mm-hmm.
And so I found someone to quote buy my company, but really it was just a transfer so I didn't have to absorb as much debt. And that was in the beginning, like the first quarter of 2022, and I didn't know what I was going to do. And I was
Okay.
also doing some personal development coaching out of Texas, and the guy who owned that company knew Tyler Harris, and some of y'all might know that name, some might
Okay.
not. That's Ashley's husband. And I had a couple conversations with him. My wife was like, "This is a really bad idea," and I'm like, "Yes, it is." So I'll go ahead and do that. And I got licensed. My wife did too at the same time. She saw me studying, and she was like, "Holy crap! This is like watching a caveman trying to figure something out." Like she studied for like 14 minutes, got like a 90. I studied for like 3 weeks, like hard. My parents were out of town. I went over to their house every day for like 6 hours, and I got a 70 on the dot to pass my exam.
You passed.
Ridiculous. I literally, when it came across my screen, I'm staring at it and I'm like, passing score 70. And I thought what it was saying was you need a 70 to pass. And I'm like, where is my score? And I realized, oh shit, that is my score. And I literally laid on the ground for like 5 minutes because I was just so like, I just hate tests. And I didn't think I was going to pass first try. So I did. So if any of you are studying, like, you got this.
Keep
Um,
going.
that's how I got to
Hmm.
symmetry. And it took me a few months to do anything. Right after I got everything set up, we got slammed by Hurricane. I don't even know which one at this
Which
point.
one?
Ian. It was Ian. Was that 2000? I don't know.
Okay.
Irma? Could be any of them. So anyway, and it delayed me like 2 more months because we were totally screwed. My parents' house flooded. It was a whole thing. So that's how I got to symmetry.
Okay.
So then you can steer me however you want going
Yeah.
forward. Paul.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
steering.
No, thank you. That's perfect. I'm glad you gave us the introduction. Yeah, again, your story is just one of like fight and perseverance, determination, which is just those are some of the things that I just love about you. What are some of, it sounds like you were kind of learning about symmetry through kind of what you knew with Tyler. And like what kind of attracted you to this opportunity? So I'm assuming you probably didn't grow up wanting to sell insurance, probably wasn't on your radar when you were, 12, 13, 17. So you saw this opportunity. What was it that you were like, you know what? Let's give this a go.
Honestly, I have no clue. Like I
Hmm.
do, but I don't. So here's the
Okay.
the truth is I was so identity shot. Meaning I spent a decade doing something that I thought was going to take me into the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Um, I thought I would have a nationally known facility and all of these things. And when, I know some of you guys know people, everybody knows people who are in recovery, right? But like that was my whole genetic makeup at this point. My life started over at age 21, and that's what I was known for. That's what I was helping people for. And so I was super burned out. And when I saw it, what really attracted me the most was that I didn't have to go find business. I could buy business,
Hmm.
um, meaning leads, right? I hope my wife can't hear me. Like, I've never been scared to spend money. So that was like, yeah, sure, totally. So, you need a credit card, let's go. And I didn't have to go market myself. I didn't have to be the face. I was like, I spent a good like 6, 8 months posting things on YouTube, Instagram every single day, making reels, doing stuff like that. And it just didn't like it, that part of me had burned out. And so I was like, okay, I can work from home and I can get licensed. Like that sounds nice. And then I found about the building part. Now, mind you, the first few conversations I had about building, it did seem too good to be true, but I bought it, right? Like without thinking what it really took. And we can get into this because like there is fruits if it's done correctly, but like not really knowing what that meant to build here. Just because
Yeah.
I had business experience elsewhere doesn't necessarily mean it translates here. And so but like to answer your question, I mean, that's what kind of attracted me. And I get to work from home. And coincidentally, my first conference was in 2022. It was the first one. Jen, you were there, but like it
Hmm.
was the first one back, since COVID. So it was a
Hmm.
lot. I didn't. I had gotten licensed, had never sold anything. I got out there. People are like, "Are you an SNA?" And I'm like, "I don't know what that is." America's like, "We raised our." They're on stage and they're like, "We raised our face amount, up to whatever it was." And I'm like, "What the hell is a face amount?"
Takes them out.
I didn't even know. I didn't know what anything meant. I was so overwhelmed. And when I
Mhm.
was out there, my wife got offered a job with an old CEO of hers that she worked for out in California for a number of years. And it was like a good paying job that had, what most people look for is the what comes with a job, the benefits, the things. And I was like, we were in a position where we weren't bringing in any money. We had a mortgage, we have a big house, four kid. Do we? Yeah, we had four. We had all of our kids by then. We had four kids, and we were kind of in that like make or break situation, And so we were like, all right, you do that, you take that on. I'm gonna figure out this insurance thing, make some sales or whatever. I didn't really know what was going on. And and so yeah, that was kind of like that was the start off to where we were. So I took a back seat as like I went Mr. like business guy, make the business happen to now I'm like the primary caregiver. It sounds weird, but like I went to the default parent while Piper took the 9 to 5. So
Mhm.
everything I did was around that type of schedule. And so it was like the beginning was not like an all in type of situation, which I can dive into a little bit more. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's really cool. I love that you and Piper just figured out a way to make this work. I also want to say, had COVID not hit, I really believe with all my heart that that business that you were running, you would have been known nationally. I really absolutely believe that. But yeah, COVID had a bad effect on just a lot of different things. But anyway, there's no doubt in my mind that it would have been big. So, but I'm really glad that you're here. So, because what you're building here, this is going to be big. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, tell me a little bit, like, let's talk a little bit about your kind of journey to agency owner. Like, you had mentioned when you first came here, you wanted to build. So, but then you realized there was going to be a whole lot more to it than just saying, "Hey, I want to build." So kind of talk me through, early on what your thought was, how it changed, and then kind of how we got to, you know, running for agency owner.
Yeah, it's the longer game, right? And
Mhm.
it's kind of like buying life insurance, meaning you do something, you have a conversation, and then it's like quiet. Like you don't get a reward right away. Where I can have a lead drop in, I call them within an hour, I set an appointment for 6 hours later, and then the next day, $1,000 hits my bank account, right? Like that's cool. But with building, it's like, all right, Kyle and I just had this conversation. He's all in. He sounds great. Cool. He told me he's gonna, do all the things. Hey man, I'm going to send you over the pre-licensing information and crickets, right? And so you have to understand that's part of it. But then when somebody does, then they actually do get into the pre-licensing. It just takes a little bit longer for something to get going. And so what I see a lot of people doing where I fell short the whole time basically was I would get a few people in. Maybe I get two, three, four, five writers going in a month, and I'm like, all right, sick. These are my people. And then I forget that I'm not getting ahead of the attrition curve. Attrition means you have more going out than coming in, right? And this hit me really hard for under two different things. One, I love Alex Ramosi. If you guys don't know who that is, he's just a dude. He's a meathead billionaire on his way, and he's an entrepreneur, and he's a younger guy. He's only like a year older than me, and so I hear him when he speaks. He's got a book talking about his gym. He used to own gyms, and he talks about that like gyms will die if you can't get ahead of the attrition curve. And then I had a conversation with Jim Larson back in December, and he was like, Wilbur, you've got to get ahead of the attrition curve. So I heard it twice, and I'm like,
Mhm.
okay. And I normally need to hear things like somewhere between 2 and 30 times for it to really click. And when I heard that, I'm like, okay, I get it. So no matter what I have going actively,
Mhm.
because what I do today isn't going to do anything for me today, but what I do today will be a reflection of what happens in 90 days, 90 to 120 days.
Yep.
And so what I saw a lot of things happening up for me is I would get really hyped on a certain group of people, and I'm like, we're doing it. And y'all met some of them at conference last year. I actually showed up and I'm like, we got some dudes, we're gonna do this thing. You want to know where they are? They're not here.
Mm.
They were doing great. But again, you have to have a certain threshold to be able to hold on long enough to let this thing start happening.
Yep.
There's two things that happen here. You either wait long enough until it works or you quit
Yep.
before it works, right? That's really it. There's no in between. And so, like on the building side, that was the biggest like eye opener is I'm like, okay, if we look back 90 days, is what's happening now a reflection of the work that I put in?
Hmm.
Right? Where it's not like production, where this week you're going to look at is the work I put in week 1 of June or July, week 1 of July reflecting in week 2 or wherever the heck we are on weeks. But like that's the short window versus the long window.
Hmm.
And so that's like the biggest like eye opener to me and understanding that you have to be able to hold on to that and keep going. It's just like building muscle. Like you don't see something 2 days after going to the gym, but all of a sudden 6 months later, you're like, oh wait, something's happening here.
Hmm.
So it's just staying in it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Super important. Danny actually was talking about on his call just this morning, like, we didn't come this far to come this far. You know what I mean? To just come this far. And so it's just a matter of deciding not to quit and, all the things. And that's kind of some of the stuff I want to get into here in a minute. Tell me about just kind of how you did two things. One, how did you overcome setbacks, just like some of the setbacks that you've had, like kind of what do you do with those? And then I know you and Piper both spin a ton of plates, like lots of plates. So I want to talk through just about how you overcome setbacks, but also like how do you guys make all this work? Like how do you balance everything you have going on with this business, with your family, your sons? Like you guys are always doing amazing things. You coach. Like how do you manage all of that? So anyway, let's talk through that.
I have no freaking clue. I don't know. No, I'm kidding. I honestly, it is a lot, and there's a few what's the word I'm looking for? Like there's a few tentacles attached to this question, honestly. And so the first would be like there's a personal side to that anybody who is doing this, because this is a weird business. Like don't sit here and like this isn't normal. You're not
Mhm.
showing up at 9 o'clock, somebody hands you a list of things to do and then you go and execute those, right? This is a you show up and you put in the input that you want to get the output, right? So in
Mhm.
order for that to happen though, it's not a defined time, which can be problematic on the personal side because you're like, all right, babe, I got to go do these calls and I got to go run these appointments. When? Like when?
Mhm.
When are you going to do that? When, like, are you going to do that 9 to 5 Monday to Friday? Like, what's that look like? So for us, there was some friction in the beginning because I wasn't identifying what I needed. Okay. And
Mhm.
that's a problem because there has to be set times and the communication has to come from me to her down to our kids
Yeah.
and then people around us. And I used to hear people talk about this all the damn time from Symmetry, like people who'd been here a while. And I'm like, okay. And then all of a sudden it hit me. So we sit down every Sunday. We did it yesterday. We look
Mhm.
at like what we have coming up, right? We look at what we have coming up every single week. My boys know at this point, one, Saturdays, like they know dad's going to be in here till about 1 or 2.
Mhm.
Piper goes to yoga in the morning and then she comes back and I'm in here from like 10:30, 11 o'clock till about 2. And that sucks. Like I don't necessarily want to do that, to be quite candid. Like I don't
Mhm.
want to be in here when it's
Mhm.
beautiful outside. I have a giant yard that I look at and I can see them running around. But the Saturdays I do that, then like it's like almost guaranteed something happens in the week. So the first part of your question is like making sure that there is an open dialogue with everybody going on.
Yes.
Even when we went on the AO run, I wasn't like that crazy about it, honestly, but I did let people know like I'm like, hey, mom, please don't call me and expect me to show up to a random Thursday dinner. It's not happening.
Mhm.
Things along those lines. And then with the boys too, like I just let them know what's going on.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know if I was gonna hit month 3, and I got a phone call at my son's game for month 3, and it was from Bob, and he was like, "Dude, your numbers are something's not right here." And I thought he was calling me to be like, "We're good."
Huh.
And I got a call, and I was like, and I walked back, and my whole family, they're like, "Dude, you look like you just died." I'm like, "I
Mhm.
might have, I might have." And I let the boys know, right? Like, Dad, you knew Dad was going for this goal. I don't know if we hit it, to be quite honest with you. And then I have a decision to make after that of like what the next 3 months will look like. We got it all figured out. F and G, love them, but also they left like
Mm.
$3,500 on my issue report. I'm like, what's going on here? And so that, like, the communication with everybody, and then on what was the other part you said about with
Well,
Piper?
just about setbacks, just
Yeah,
setbacks.
and
Let me,
on the setback side,
yeah.
like, it's gonna happen because this is a weird, strange business. You're gonna set 5 appointments for a Monday, and four of them might reschedule or not show up, or you're gonna get an email, "Hey, I talked to my husband. We decided that we're good." And instead of going backwards, the other part that I think I have in favor is I'm like, I don't know if I'm stubborn or what, but my brothers used to tell me, if you're gonna be dumb, you better be tough. And like, I used to make really stupid decisions all the time, like whether it was physical, like, hey, don't go jump off that really high thing. And I'd be like, okay, and I would jump off of it and I get hurt, but I'd be like, all right, now I'm just hurt. And Scott talks about this a lot. You can play, there's when it comes to athletics, there's two types of things. You're either hurt or you're injured. I'm hurt all the time. I am literally hurting myself all the time because I've weightlifted since I was 15. My body is slowly trying to tell me, like, hey, you need to chill out. I don't really listen to it. Injured is different. So that's like, I got a cast on my arm. I literally physically cannot do this.
Hmm.
So there's a
Hmm.
difference. And
Hmm.
if you are injured in this, I don't know what would define injured in this industry, but a lot of the times we do get hurt,
Hmm.
right? And instead of when we get hurt, retreating and saying, "Oh, you know what? I just need a day, whatever." Like, instead of doing that, like, lean into it. I,
Hmm.
I have found anytime I've leaned into it, the fruits that come out of it are
Hmm.
significantly better.
Yeah.
And so, like, in the setbacks, you have to understand that everybody's game here is significantly different. I mean, Jen has been here longer than any of us, watched Kyle and Kristen probably come in here and wreak havoc and make crazy waves a lot faster, right? I watched Kyle and Kristen come in. Not that I'm like, please, not some like old dude, like, I watched Kyle and Kristen come in. No, but like, I did. And all of a sudden, and I could compare myself, like, Kyle and Kristen beat me, right? But that doesn't do anything. That doesn't do
Hmm.
anything for me, and they wouldn't even know I'm thinking about that, right? That's the crazy part about the comparison game. Whoever you're comparing yourself to has no
Hmm.
idea that you're taking up space in their brain.
Oh.
So, like, don't do that to yourself. So on the setback side, like, understand if this is where you want to be, this is where you are, and that it's just your journey. Like, it's just your journey, right? And so I think it all comes down to the way that, like, our perception is. If you have not read John Maxwell's 101 series, specifically the first one,
Mhm.
I would highly recommend reading that because it is so simple on just attitude, like just attitude, and that's a big, big factor here.
You have an excellent attitude, in my opinion. I've never seen really any kind of yeah, just I feel like I don't see you down. And I'm sure you are sometimes, of course, but like you're just a super positive person. I feel like who's just focused and determined. I love that you talk about your schedule and the importance of like making sure everyone around you knows what you're working towards, because that's how they can support you. You know what I mean? Your boys know that you're in the office for a few hours on a Saturday. And that's kind of bringing them into what you're doing. You know what I mean? Like they feel part of it because they're kind of leaving you alone to do the work that you need to do during the time that you do. And they get to be part of the celebration of, reaching the goals that you're setting for yourself and for your team and your agency and those types of things. So, kind of getting that buy-in from family and just making sure everybody's on the same page just really makes a huge difference. And getting like those times when we get knocked down, Danny mentioned this on his call last night, but it's not really about how many times we get knocked down, but it's about how quickly we get back up. So, do you feel like that's something that you really try to do? I feel like it's something that I've seen in you just times, you just don't stay down.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, like, I've definitely been
Sure.
down, but here is where the lessons that I've learned from that is the times I've been the most down are when it's all like a time continuum thing where whenever I've let off the gas, all of a
Mhm.
sudden it's a couple weeks down the road and I'm like, I don't feel well,
Mhm.
right? And it's about my productivity across the board. And
Mhm.
so that like and there's
Mhm.
intention. So there's a lot of mixed messaging. I'll speak candidly here, right? There's a
Okay.
lot of mixed messaging about your ability to have time here, time off, I should say, where because it's a funnel business, right? It's funnel on the production and sales side, and it's a funnel on the recruiting side.
Sure.
And so the moment you kink one of those, it's like a hose, the water stops, right? The water stops. And so as soon as you stop the water on production, it takes a minute to like to get things going again sometimes. I don't know if any of you have taken a week or two off. Maybe you stop your leads, then you come back and you're all excited, and then like the momentum is kind of like burned.
Yep.
And so I've made the mistake of doing that a handful of times, and it's always gotten me into a weird headspace. And so the intent, this is why building is so necessary,
Mhm.
because you can be off of your production, which is okay, but then you've got team members winning while you're doing whatever you need to do, right? Maybe you are taking time with your family or something like that. Like I think that is where building comes into play, because here's what's guaranteed. You might book a billion appointments,
Mhm.
but you're not guaranteed the applications. Marshall Whalen talked about this on the AO call a few weeks ago. If you have a bunch of people writing business under you, the applications will come. So
Mhm.
Danny talks about this. I have not listened to the call yet because I had a weird morning, but I listen to Danny's call every single Monday morning. But he talks about it a million times. Those are the most writers win. And so when you don't have a busy week personally producing, but you have writers winning, I don't know about any of y'all, but like it's way more rewarding to me than when you
Totally.
write your own business. The paycheck's not as big right away,
Mhm.
right? If one agent writes an application versus you writing an application. But then when you have a week where you've got like five, six people writing, that's fun.
Mhm.
Like that's really cool.
Mhm.
And so that is, I think, the balancing here is that if you're only relying on you, then that's going to be tough. And also, no offense, but it's kind of selfish too, because you're focusing only on you. And when
Mhm.
you're focused on you, self-reliance is a real pain in the ass because you can beat
Mhm.
yourself up and then you're just at battle with you. And like nobody needs that and nobody has time for
Mhm.
that, right? And then you're talking to your upline or whoever about it or your spouse, and they're like, dude, you're battling yourself.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Hmm. Man, that's super powerful. And I would say I definitely fell into that probably trap category a little bit early on myself, just um, with not having built a business, built the team early on. Yeah, there was just a lot of more self-focus. And now with a team, it's just so different. Like you said, Wilbur, other people's wins are more exciting than your own. And it's so much fun to celebrate other people, which is why I love having you on this call so we can celebrate you. So this has been great. Tell me a little bit about, the importance of running buddies, the importance of association, the importance of conference. But like, first of all, talk about people that you're running with. You don't have to name names, but like, why is it important to have people that you're running with? Why is it important to reach out to your uplines? I know you've got a number of people that coach with. Why is that important? Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about just kind of association.
I don't think I don't think I would be here without it, honestly.
Hmm.
If you don't have it, one, like where are you right now? Like, turn your Zoom off. Where are you? Home? Maybe you're at a coffee shop. You're by yourself. You're done. Like, you're done because again, you're relying on one human.
Yeah.
And the same person that came here, right? The same person that came here, and no, I don't know anyone's journey. I told you a little bit of mine, but I didn't come here like on a winning streak. And I didn't come here like all like dead and broken. I'm not like giving that facade. I'm not. I would have figured it out no matter what. But the same brain that got me here that didn't know what I was doing is not going to get me where I need to go next. That's an issue. Like just one dead battery, right? You need somebody else to charge you up. And so association has been huge. Yeah, and I can name a few. My first conference, 2022, I sat at the end of the table. Scott happened to sit next to me. We're like, hey, well, we'd already found each other on Instagram. We were like, And it was like a total bro moment. Like, hey, hey. And then like I ordered like, and you might have heard this story before, but I ordered 2 meals because I just eat a lot and I was dying of starvation. I didn't know what the heck was going on. And he was like, you eat like that, dude? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, cool. And then like it was on from there. And so like Scott was my first like running buddy. And we came here, the same conference, both of us in the same position, right? Difference
Mhm.
was he left and made a decision, hard decision. I left and I was just kind of like, be doo be bop, boop, bop, like I'll go figure this thing out. Hurricane hit, let me make some excuses, blah, blah, blah. And right, and Scott was like, I'm gonna marathon this thing and peace out. And we
Mhm.
hit agency owner 7 months later. And I'm like, oh crap. And so that was like my first introduction for a running buddy, right? And then I mean, Jen, you remember, and like Gabby and Kristen, like y'all, and we all had like there was a lot of changes in the collective at that time, and
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
I had gotten introduced to a lot of like really good people, but nothing ever really stuck. And then in the last year, the association part, I made a decision like we only can do so much on the same team, right?
Mhm.
And that's not to say put anybody down on my team or the teams around me, but I've only really been exposed to a certain like bubble of humans that have done
Mhm.
it the way that has been taught with a couple iterations, right? Learned a lot from Jordan Shank, like as all of you have too. Had a lot of good conversations with him that probably were like one of those moments that got me to be here. And like, but I started reaching outside of our agency and it
Mhm.
started in conference of 24. I don't know. Yeah, conference 24. And like I heard a couple stage, and so I went right to them after they spoke. And I'm like,
Mhm.
hey, dude, I like shaking your hand. Can I get your number? Would love to connect afterwards. And I
Mhm.
started doing things like that and got
Mhm.
perspective, how they're building, what their production schedule
Mhm.
looks like, things like that. And I'm like, what the how come I never knew any of this?
Mhm.
And that's okay because once you get into you get into like a rhythm with the people that you know, that's just your rhythm. And then I got a couple like when I hit AO, I reached out to people who had hit agency owner around the same time that I did, and I've linked up with them. And like we have our virtual office that we do, and like we started doing like every once a week. We haven't only done it once, but we've stapled it now. Like every week, we have an agency owner dial off. It's me and Anna Savavi and Jamie
Mhm.
Pumpernill. How did I get involved? Like I'm one of 4 boys. I have 4 boys. I've only coached inside of men's circles, and now I'm like, my running buddies are 2 ladies from Symmetry Financial Group. I don't know. Right? Like it's out of character, but again, like it's something different. So it's huge. And then conference, if you haven't signed up for conference and you're on this call, I'll be the Grinch to come in here and say like I don't know why you're on this call if you're not going to conference. If you want to use my code, it's Smith1385. Don't tell Kyle or Jen. Thanks. But if you haven't signed up for conference, like you just got to go. And I'm
Yeah.
sure half of you are in Colorado. I don't know. But like it's where you get exposed to language. Again, no offense to this call, but like you get exposed to language outside of what you're normally hearing.
Mhm.
And then all of a
Mhm.
sudden you're like, oh, this is real and tangible. You hear Casey, you hear Brandon, Brian Pope, and you're like, okay. And then you go to breakouts and you're like, oh man, this is wild. This is actual applicable stuff that these guys
Yep.
are talking about. They're giving you what they do and showing what they do. And you're realizing, A, I'm not doing enough every
Mhm.
time. And B, a couple of tweaks and I can be off and running, right? And so like conference is just a must. And like you already see each other every single Monday anyway on Zoom. Now you get to go meet each other in person. And it's like really, really powerful. So
Mhm.
you just have to be there. My first conference, I called Tyler and I'm like, dude, because the conferences I was exposed to for my last industry just absolutely sucked. I hated them. It was all just it was all like vendor booth stuff, people talking themselves up about how good they are, how we can refer to each other, and I hated
Mhm.
it.
Mhm.
This is this is way different. And so you just got to go. I called Tyler and he's like, I don't know how to explain it, Wilbur, but you just need to go. And I'm
Mhm.
like, okay, I will just go. And I did that. And it would I'm very glad I did. I'll be there.
Mhm.
I'll be there for sure.
So if you want to meet Wilbur in person, then you need to get to conference. So that's hit the done button. I will say I'm glad you know talked about conference a little bit too. Some of the things that I have learned in this business, I specifically learned at conference and brought back here. And so, you know, if you're not there, you're not going to know. And so you've got to get there. And I feel like too, going to conference just made me realize just how big and how incredible of an opportunity this is. And it just makes you want to run towards it even faster. So I'm glad that you're going to be there, Wilbur. So tell me kind of like what's next for you, what's next for your team, like kind of what's happening next for you guys. Yeah, just as you lead into conference and maybe finish out 2025, where are you guys going?
Oh, okay. So it's a great question. And the simple one word answer is ownership. What I mean by that is not because first of all, it's not even a paper document. It's a damn DocuSign. It took two buttons to sign my agency owner paperwork. Okay. It's not like it was some right. I'm like, well, I read it and I'm like, first of all, it's the only thing I've ever read that's actually in favor of the person signing it. I've signed a bunch of other contracts, whether
Mm,
it's real
mm,
estate, other things, and it's always like, if you do XYZ, we're gonna take all your family's fingers off and we're gonna do this. This is all like it's all we're just trying to help you. We're just trying to help you. We're symmetry and we're trying to help you, which is
mm,
cool. And so I like my dad's a lawyer, my brother's a lawyer, and I'm used to having I don't read stuff. I didn't learn from them, but like I would send it off to have somebody read it. I'm like, I don't even need anyone to read this. It just says like you're good to go. But to answer your question, what I mean by ownership is you can get to a certain point. You can get to a certain point here under somebody else's success. Meaning, like, in this, if this hits, then it hits. If it doesn't, whatever. But you can only grow to yourself. John Maxwell talks about the law of the lid. You can be your own lid, but you can also be reliant on somebody else, and then they become your lid. And at the same time, you are your own lid, if that makes sense. Like you
mm,
can point fingers if whoever's above me isn't growing, like I'm not growing.
mm,
So when I say ownership, everything across the board, I'm taking into my hands because this is my agency.
mm,
If you're growing an agency, this is your agency,
mm,
right? And it has to have your flavor on it, right? And so if you're using techniques that are built from somebody else, it's not yours,
mm,
right? And that's okay to get where you need to go, but there has to be the awareness, in my opinion, there has to be the awareness to understand that it's temporary. It's
mm,
temporary until you're ready to like really tie up your laces and hit the ground running. And that
mm,
comes from, and most of that, honestly, let's be real, it comes down to the investing part. Like it comes down to the investing part. And so if you go back and look at that call from Marshall Whalen and like maybe it's the only AO call that is in the LMS that's accessible to like every agent in Symmetry, I believe.
mhm, mhm,
And he talks about the 20 appointments and or 20 interviews and 15 appointments, right? Those are two actually really hard to get to be honest with you. And I know it's the Symmetry standard, but like it's hard as hell to get 15 appointments on the books.
mhm,
Really hard to get 20 quality interviews too.
mhm,
And so the techniques used to get me to where I am now are not going to get me to where I need to
yeah,
go. So I actually it was like we hit it, the balloon deflated a little bit and it's getting reinflated with a little bit of a different strategy that is going to give me more access and control, and not in like a control freak situation, but just more control into what we can do moving forward. Because again, what we're doing today is going to be a reflection of I'm not smart enough here. October, November. Like
yeah,
what we do today is get
yeah,
what is going to reflect what happens in October, November for us, right? And then conference in the middle of it, which right, that's going to give you like that's an adrenaline shot as it is. And so like I think that answered your question, but like
yeah,
really it's taking the reins of all of this,
yep,
right? Like it's taking the reins. Jordan is actually the one who told me a long time ago. He's like, Wilbur, dude, you've got all the systems and resources in your back pocket, but you've got to make it your own.
yeah.
So yeah,
Put your stamp on it. So
yeah.
very good. Very good. Okay, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Last question. Um, for some reason, I feel like some of this might have to do with your family too, but like tell us what legacy do you hope to leave? Whether that be here in the business, with your kids, with your family. What does that look like for you?
I think if to be honest, it's not like some like elevator sounding thing where it's like I just want what I really want my like boys to understand is that you have to walk into fear. Like you have to walk into fear.
Mm,
And if you don't, you're going to be held down by it forever. Right?
mm,
And this might sound relatively like morbid, but if something happened to me tomorrow, all of the fearful thoughts and things that I didn't do wouldn't even matter.
Mm-hmm.
right? It wouldn't matter. It would just be gone. So it's not even mine in the moment, right? It's something that I am working on to hopefully leave. But like if I went poof tomorrow, like it was never mine to begin with. So why the hell was I so scared of it? Right. And so if I can bring that to the light and they can see that, and because they think I'm like, they think I'm like this macho dude. And I tell them all the time, no, like, dude, I get scared. Like, I get scared of a lot of stuff. And I don't really physically like whatever, but like, I get mentally scared of a lot of things. And I talk them through that. And I
Mm-hmm.
think what's cool here is if done right, and I'll be honest, I haven't hit it at like full stride yet, but if done right, you can really, you can get on the snowball effect a lot quicker here than most businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And
Totally.
so I'm excited for that to take place even more than it has over the last few months and like and walk them with that. So
Mhm.
I don't know if that fully answered that question, but it's like I think
Totally.
it's more of a philosophical thing of like you can be scared today, but if something happens tomorrow, like you weren't actually really scared of anything because it was never yours to be scared of, you know?
Mm. That's great. That's great. Wow, Wilbur. Well, thank you so much for just sharing with us like your journey, your little bit about your story. And our team is cheering you on. I'm one of your biggest fans just personally, and just really excited to see where you guys go. Can't wait to see you at conference. And thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank
I
you.
think
Stoked to reach out.
we
Yeah,
all are inspired and motivated. So thank you.
cool. See you guys
Very
in
good.
Denver.
Absolutely. All right, team, have a great week and see you in the workroom.
Thanks, Wilbur.
You're
Thanks,
welcome. See you
Wilbur.
guys.
See you, team. Have a good week.